Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. It's Trinity here with Trinity on Trail. Today I want to talk about something very important, and that is footwear. So when you're getting ready to do a long distance hike, it's very important to find a shoe that's not only comfortable, but that works for you and your body. So your choice of shoe, it should not be based on how many great reviews it has had. It's going to be a shoe that works for you and your specific need. For myself personally, I am prone to blisters, hot spots, ingrown toenails, toenails that get blood blisters under them and peel back, and so where I'm losing toenails. I have one leg that is about between a ½ inch and a ¼ inch longer than the other. So I'm going into it looking for something that's going to work for my issues. Now, reviews and stuff, those are great, but that's a good place to start. But the best thing to do, really the only thing to do, is to get the shoes, put them on, and break them and try them out. Get some miles in them long before you step foot on trail. For me personally, I don't like the heavy traditional hikers. People will also say that if you go with the traditional hiking boot, it's going to protect your feet more, gives you more ankle support, and it's going to protect you from, everything that you step on. Whereas if you're wearing trail runners, supposedly you're going to feel, every grain of sand you step on. And that was not the case for me in my personal experience. I really enjoyed the flexibility that I get out of a trail runner. I found almost that because the material was so pliable, it was almost like I could use my feet to sort of almost fold around and grip different objects as I was hiking. And so for me, it's trail runners. That is my go-to. That is my plan for the PCT as well. When you start looking at footwear, especially specialty footwear, something that is designed for a specific purpose, such as hiking, you're looking at a lot more money. Now, the way to get around that is you will find footwear goes on sale. You can buy last year's models, or if you're like me that has an unusual size, I have very large feet. Often you'll find these odd size shoes don't really sell, and you can then purchase them at the end of a season and get them at a discount. On the AT, I chose to go with the Ultralone Peaks because that is the only footwear I have ever had where I slipped them on and I immediately walked out, and I never had a single hot spot. I never had a blister. I never had any ingrown toenails. Like, all of the things I usually struggle with disappeared. And that is what you want, is you want a shoe that works for you. The only issue I did have was a very short-lived one, and that was I have one leg longer than another. And when I switched from a traditional runner to a trail runner that was a zero-drop shoe, I had issues where I started developing pain in one of my knees, in my shorter leg, and then that moved up into pain in my hip as well. And after doing some research, I figured out that people that had similar issues with me, they recommended just getting a cheap insole and putting in the shoe of the shorter leg. So that's what I did. Not expensive orthotics. I just bought a cheap Dr. Scholl's, slipped that into my shoe, and within a few days, the hip and knee pain were gone, and I never had an issue again. And that served me exceptionally well for my entire AT hike. The downside that I had found with the Ultralone Peaks was I did not get traction with these shoes. If you're on a wet surface, a slippery surface, and it doesn't have to be ice or snow, it can just simply be mud or gravel and an incline. And I found even on a sheer rock face, like a bald, that was dry or damp. In both situations, I had no traction, and it was almost like I was doing a free fall. I would take a step and the slide started. So I ended up doing a lot of butt scooching, or I was just clutching and grabbing at any vegetation, any limb, any tree, anything that would stop me from falling. And I met another hiker on trail, and we were on this bald, and there was a group of hikers that had sort of built up behind us because we were moving so slowly. And so we'd both sort of ducked off to the side, and we're, waving them on, like, don't wait for us. We're going to be a while with this one. And they would just step out, and they were striding with confidence, and they had perfect grip. And we just sort of looked at each other like, what is wrong? Why do we not have that? The Lone Peak worked exceptionally well for me in every other regard. Traction is important. So for my upcoming PCT, I decided to try a few different shoes and see if I could find anything that worked a little better. So that being said, let's have a look at my shoes. So these are my Hokas. Definitely not a zero drop. I didn't find that the traction was any better or any worse than my Lone Peaks. But what I did find is that the toe box is not as wide. It's not as comfortable for me personally. And they're a slightly heavier shoe as well. So the other thing I did not like about my Hokas is that just after about 6 months roughly of training, the shoe is already starting to fall apart. The mesh is all breaking down. And this is not through hiking. This is just occasional hiking, training in town, like in an urban setting. And they're already breaking apart. So, I decided for all those reasons not to go with the Hokas. Next up, I have my On Clouds. So again, in all of these shoes that I chose, it's slightly wider toe boxes, more natural toe box than a traditional runner. The On Clouds I like because, like the Ultras, they're very, very lightweight. But these ones as well, you can see they're holding up quite well. And these, unlike the Hokas, these are pretty much my everyday shoe now. They look and feel brand new. What I don't like, this part of the shoe here, how they have the tread is separated. I find I'm getting a lot of foot pain right down my midsection of my foot. And I think it has to do with the way the structure is here on the tread. So while I love these for my everyday running around, I would not wear these out for my long distance hike. I tried the Ultra Hikers. And these ones I've fitted with my Yaktrax, sort of like a micro spike. Hiked in them in snow and ice. The Yaktrax were great. They gripped. I did not slide. So I liked that combination. Without the Yaktrax on ice, definitely sliding, even with the tread that they have here. What I didn't like is that even though they are lightweight, and most people love the extra ankle support. I don't. That does not work well for me. It causes hot spots on the ankles, and it also at the back here where it rubs across my Achilles causes hot spots there too, and skin breakdown. So I'll actually it'll rub it raw by the end of the day. And there's nothing there that's causing that. It's just that friction because it sits up so high. With my gait, it just does not work for me. So then we're left with my Ultra Lone Peaks. By far the best shoe as far as its weight. It's nice and light. They sit low enough on my ankles that it does not rub. It doesn't cause me any kind of skin breakdown or irritation. It's low enough on my Achilles that it's not constantly rubbing. The toe box is, mwah. It is absolutely phenomenal. If you've only ever worn traditional runners, try them out. This was a godsend for me. Like I said, no blisters, no ingrown toenails, no hot spots. These were great. The only thing I said that I didn't like was I did not, even though they got heavy duty tread here, something about the material of the tread does not give me purchase. It doesn't grip. So that can be a problem when you're hiking. So I bought those just because they were my go-to on the AT. And then switching out for the PCT with the Outroad. The Outroad, again, it has that nice wide toe box. And the tread on them is different. It's definitely a little more grippy than the Lone Peak. So slightly better traction on the surface that I've had here. Now, granted, I'm from Michigan and we are not known for, you know, our mountains. So it's really hard to test that out. But in any other situation, I've been wearing them. I've not had any problems. They feel better. And unlike the On Cloud, that has this very wide gap here in the middle of the foot, this one does not, and it does not cause me the pain that the On Clouds do. So overall, again, love the shoe. I'm hoping it's going to work better on trail. And I got 2 sets of these. So I'm going to probably start out with the Outroad. Got them in blue and red, again on sale. So not a huge investment in them, but they're really good shoes. Again, you know, hiking does not need to be bloody expensive. You know, you don't have to sell your firstborn or get a second mortgage on your house to hike. If you do, you're doing something wrong. So, you know, when you can still get good quality equipment, and you can get it at a good price. You just have to wait and watch. So that's what I recommend. Don't pay full price if you don't have to, right? So that's it for me. Again, AT was my Altra Lone Peaks. For the PCT, I'm sticking with Altra, but I'm going to try the Altra Outroad. I will let you know how these work out for me. So that's me. That's everything for today. Thanks again for tuning in. Please hit subscribe and like. Bye for now. Take care. We'll see you down trail. Bye-bye.